Well, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Jeudy is probably not going to be a Denver Bronco anymore. I mean, I don't know if that's a bad thing. Obviously, this Denver Broncos offense has an argument to be made to be the worst offense in the NFL, the worst defense in the NFL, and possibly the worst team in the NFL. Now, that may be a little bit harsh. I mean, if you're going to go out there and if you're just going to look at a basic view of their overall record, you're going to say, well, Mason, come on, man. They won a game. They beat the Chicago Bears. They're 1-5. It's not like they're 0-6. I mean, they're not the Carolina Panthers. I would way rather be a Panthers fan right now than a Denver Broncos fan. I mean, going into this game, you knew it was going to be ugly. The spread, I believe, was about 9.5 points. And you have Denver going out there and giving you a rough stat line of 22 pass attempts, 13 completions, 95 receiving yards, a receiving touchdown, and 2 interceptions. I'm sorry, passing touchdown. I apologize. But nonetheless, this passing touchdown didn't even count. The game was out of hand. The game was never remotely close for this Denver Broncos offense. Javonte looked decent at times getting the football. You did use some Jaleel. Samaje Perine was used a little bit as a receiver. We talked about benching every Denver Bronco running back this week because honestly, you can't overcome one of the worst offenses in the NFL as a 3-man running back by committee, right? It's just not possible. So if they're going to use 3 backs here, you cannot look at anybody. Nobody is viable. Courtland Sutton gets there. 6 targets, 4 receptions, 46 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. Going forward, do you feel comfortable about starting Courtland Sutton? Hell to the no. Of course, you cannot feel comfortable about starting Courtland Sutton. Jerry Jeudy does absolutely nothing. We had the trade rumors coming into the week where Jerry Jeudy was going to be dealt off the Denver Broncos. And before the game, I went, well, you don't know how this is going to go, right? Maybe Jerry Jeudy gets the news and maybe he's just out of the game completely. Maybe this is just a horrendous team, yada, yada, yada. Or maybe they decide to highlight Jerry Jeudy. Maybe they decide to go out there and just highlight his ability in a primetime game the week that they are trying to trade him away to get the most value for him. Well, nope, that clearly wasn't the case. I mean, even if they tried, there's no hope for Jeudy here. Now, I think you probably still roster Jeudy. You probably still roster Sutton because if Jerry Jeudy is dealt off the Denver Broncos, then at that point, Sutton will be a viable wide receiver. I think we can rank as a high-end wide receiver 3 in fantasy. And dependent on landing spot, Jerry Jeudy may be able to find some success. Now, going over to the Chiefs. Don't have too much to discuss here outside the running back usage. Now, keep in mind, this was never really a game. And what's hilarious is it was never a game. He still had 40 passing attempts for Mahomes. He goes out there, he has 306 passing yards. He has the passing touchdown. Travis Kelce absolutely crushes. Kelce sees 9 targets, 124 receiving yards. But what was the most surprising thing of all here is the Isaiah Pacheco receiving usage. Isaiah Pacheco went out there and he had 6 targets, 6 receptions, and 36 receiving yards. Let me go through and let me see what Isaiah Pacheco did as a rookie, ladies and gentlemen. But I mean, I would be surprised if Isaiah Pacheco as a rookie had a single game where he came close to this kind of receiving volume. So previous to this, earlier this year, his season high was 4 receptions in a single game. And Isaiah Pacheco last season had 14 total targets, 13 total receptions, 130 total receiving yards through the entire year. Whereas this game, Isaiah Pacheco's coming out with 6 receptions, almost 50% of what he gave you last year as a receiver. You have Jerick McKinnon slowly being removed. You have Clyde Edwards-Helaire not really being involved whatsoever. Pacheco obviously was going to crush regardless just because this is a super easy matchup going up against the Denver Broncos. But going forward, I'm even more excited about Isaiah Pacheco because of this receiving usage and probably not going to go out there and try to say he's a sell high based off a good matchup, right? Now, going over to the receivers, we were telling everybody to bench Rashee Rice going into this game. And Rashee Rice goes out there. He gets you 11 points. I mean, he has 4 receptions and 72 receiving yards. Now, it's interesting, right? Because I think Rashee Rice, depending on what happens in terms of the snap data that comes out here, may still be someone that you need to go out there and you may need to bench. I hate to say it, but if you're only seeing 4 targets, even if you're in the Kansas City Chiefs offense, even if you somehow manage to get there every single week, unless that we see the snap data be fundamentally different for Rice, I think that this is still a player that has upside for later in the year, but is probably going to be someone that we are benching next week until we see him have a full workload, until we see him get up there to 7-8 targets. Because you still had the 4 targets for Sky Moore. You still had the receiving touchdown from Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney actually had 6 targets. I mean, he had more targets than Rashee Rice in this game. You still had a little bit of random tight end usage like Noah Gray down there. So we've talked about it time and time again, but this Chiefs offense is a massive pie. I mean, there's so much production in it. But when it comes around to these wide receivers, they're slicing this pie in a million tiny little pieces. So really, you cannot be relying on anyone here. And it's just such a gross situation overall. Please let me know in the live chat, do you want to see Jerry Jeudy get traded? And where do you want to see Jerry Jeudy go to? And real quick, we're 1 like away from hitting 100 likes on this live stream. So go down there, drop a like on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems over there on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat. You can find it in the description. You can find it in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you'll get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And if you are new to Underdog Fantasy, you're going to be getting a Joe Burrow special pick'em more than less than half a total yard on Sunday. And it doesn't matter if you're new to Underdog or have been on Underdog for years, as long as you use promo code FLOCK, you're going to get hooked up with a Justin Herbert special pick'em more than less than half a total yard on Monday night as well. Underdog never does anything like that, but since it's our birthday this week, they hooked y'all up, and I'm so happy we were able to get y'all that. Now, if you see the Broncos Chiefs pick'ems over here, it's because I was too lazy to update the screen recording, but we have a lot of people wanting to see him go to Houston, a Colt, Patriots. The Patriots are tanking. I don't know if they're going to go out there and trade for Jeudy. Maybe make an argument that they aren't tanking, but they should be. There's no way in hell this team does anything. Texans, Indy, Cowboys. I doubt it. Panthers could make sense, actually. I don't mind that. That's the first time I've heard the Panthers. I don't think Patriots is happening, ladies and gentlemen. I like the call for the Colts. I like the call for the Texans. I think that those are probably the most likely landing spots, especially with the rookie quarterbacks. The Panthers call is one that I honestly did not hear in the live stream earlier today. And now that I think about that as well, I think the Panthers would make a lot of sense for Jerry Jeudy. I mean, I think you probably would prefer him out of those landing spots going to Houston, maybe Carolina. I don't know. Regardless, I mean, he's not going to be a wide receiver 1 in fantasy, no matter what. But I think that should be it. Of course, we can talk about a little bit more of this game as we go through these questions. But Bones coming out saying, 4-1, trade Diggs for Walker, Olave, Osborne. We have Eckler, Connor, Jefferson, but struggling with depth because of the injuries. If this is a 12-team or more league, I'm fine if you wanted to go out there and make this. I mean, it would be easier if you had multiple flex spots. We're definitely giving up the best player. I do really like Kenneth Walker, though, and Kenneth Walker is already through his bye as well. Alejandro says traded Kamara, Hopkins, Mostert for Amari, Spears, and Eckler. Oh my gosh, great deal. I mean, you're going from Hopkins to Amari, who cares? Essentially, we traded Kamara and Mostert for Austin Eckler, and the short term, maybe make an argument for the package, but long term is Devon Achane comes back. Getting Eckler is a no-brainer. Chris says, hey, Mason, love the videos. Trying to get my lineup straight. I'm going to go Stroud or Purdy in pick 2 to start between Ramondre, Gibbs, Nico, and JT. I'm going to go Stroud over Purdy. And now that we have no Watson, I think the 49ers just don't have to throw it at all. And then Ramondre Gibbs, Nico, and Jonathan Taylor. I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to be playing Jonathan Taylor and Nico Collins. I mean, I just want nothing to do with Ramondre Stevenson. And one of the worst offenses in the NFL. He's been wildly inefficient, and he's in a committee. Abraham says start Tajee or Justice Hill. I mean, maybe Justice Hill. Justice Hill at least has a shot to be the lead back in his backfield. Trevor says, hey, Mason, love the content, man. Keep up the good work. 3-2, 12-team full BBR, 680 points for. Would you rather have Lamb or Smith rest of season? We have Puka and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think both wide receivers are intriguing buy low candidates. I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb, and that I still expect CeeDee Lamb to go out there and be a wide receiver that's very safe to project out his target share. I understand that he's been frustrating as of late, but I mean, I think what we've seen a lot in this live stream, at least over the past week, has been a ton of people going through and straight up panicking about CeeDee Lamb, panicking about Tony Pollard, and ultimately, they just went up against the toughest defense in the NFL on prime time with everybody watching. I think, honestly, it may be a little bit of an overreaction. Now, Jordan coming out saying, traded Ertz and Jeudy for Lawrence. Now we have Lawrence, Bijan, Walker, Gibbs, Madison, Ford, Algier, Charbonnet. Great receivers. Okay, so we lost Anthony Richardson. On a team that we lost Anthony Richardson makes a lot of sense. Would you drop any players for Osborne, Michael Thomas, Downs, or Elijah Moore? Michael Thomas would be my favorite pickup here. And if we were going to drop a player, it would be Quentin Johnston. And honestly, probably not, right? I know a lot of people would say, oh no, Mason, you drop Zach Charbonnet, drop Charbonnet, because obviously Charbonnet is nowhere close to being an interesting start in fantasy football right now. But I still think that if you were to have an injury to Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet would be a running back that could turn into a league winner. Brandon says, PBR 4-1. We have Hurts, Etienne, Jefferson, Debo, Amari, Goddard, Etienne, Pacheco, Ryan Robinson, Ford, London, Roshan, Jameson. Should we trade Ford for Pittman in a full BBR format where we can start up to 4 wide receivers? Hell yes, I would love that. Sleep Deprived says drop Roshan for Christian Watson. Yes, I would. Even if you know I love our guy Roshan Hook'em Lawrence. Johnson says Chuba Hubbard or Dameon Pierce at the flex, full PBR. If Miles Sanders plays, we're going to be going with Dameon Pierce. If Miles Sanders misses, not going to fault you at all if you wanted to go Chuba Hubbard. Alex says, should we trade more for Olave straight up? I think probably not, because I think you can squeeze out a little bit more value for DJ Moore elsewhere. Even though I do like the idea, I think we just get a little more value. Drew says, what are your thoughts on Javonte in the committee? So, I mean, we talked about this earlier on, and we were saying this going into the game as well. It doesn't matter who is the lead back. If 3 running backs will see touches in one of the worst offenses in the NFL, nobody's viable. If Javonte, Jaleel, Samaje Perine all split the backfield, it doesn't matter if Javonte's seeing 50%, then you have Jaleel seeing 30%, Perine seeing 20%. If you are going to be able to overcome how bad this offense is, you need to be a running back that is just dominating the usage. Brody says, double flex, 1 tight end. Friend offers me pick 1. Garrett Wilson, Smith, or Swift, paired with Hollywood and McLaurin for Jefferson and Higgins. So we're selling Higgins for a Hollywood and McLaurin and Jefferson for DeAndre Swift. In a league where depth matters a ton. We're 3-2. The issue is in this format where you can start 5 wide receivers on a week-to-week perspective. Losing Jefferson just hurts a little bit more, and it's going to be a little harder to replace him. If you were 1-4, it would be easy to go through and make that deal. Three and 2, I think if you wanted to keep Jefferson, I'm not going to fault you for it. Logan says trade Saquon, H.N. Myers for Brees and Cup. Cup to Brees, up to you. H.N. Myers for Cup, give me Cup easily. Yeah, Saquon, Brees, I mean, Saquon's just in such a bad offense. I still probably prefer Saquon. I don't think it's a massive difference, though. Zeke says, just got Jefferson for Kirk and Reynolds. Beautiful. That's like, if you can ever go get, it doesn't matter if you're 0-5, you would trade that package for Justin Jefferson. Now, Harrison says 10T BBR double flex. We have CMC, Kyron Ramadre, DKT, Palmer, Tua, Ferguson, Warren, Zay, Stroud, Downs. Should I trade CMC and DK Metcalf for Kupp and Montgomery? I would personally keep Christian McCaffrey. I mean, we talked about this earlier on. So what we're doing here is we're trading the best and the fourth best player in this deal for the second and third best. I never want to do that. I never want to be the guy giving up the best player, not only in the deal, but in fantasy football in Christian McCaffrey. Keep CMC. Griffin Face says, is Jefferson and Ford for Bijan and Ridley worth it? I would rather have Ridley over Ford, and I'd rather have Bijan over Jefferson. Yes, I'd sell Jefferson at that price point. Jared says 10-team BBR 3-2. We have Burrow, Kyron, Connor, Jones, Javonte, Hill, Olave, Wilson, JSN, Jeudy, Freiermuth. Any trades? We got Kelsey last week. Great team with Kelsey here. I mean, obviously it'd be nice if we could get any value for Freiermuth, but you're going to have to hold until he comes back. I mean, honestly, don't necessarily see anything. I think we're just going to be sitting here for the long term. Hopefully we get some value out of Freiermuth and we can send him in a deal for an upgrade elsewhere. Hopefully we get JSN breaking out. Hopefully we get James Conner back, but I think you're in a good spot. Cody says, time to leave my money league. Ooh, what happened here, my man? 12-team PBR. James Cook, Ayuk for CD vetoed with 2 hours left. 5 trades, 3 vetoed. 4 and 5 controlling trades. 4 needed a veto. Should I leave? Already called him out for it. It just makes it not fun, right? Another fair deal vetoed. It's like, what's the point? I would try to change the rule. If it's a 12-team league, I think obviously the 2 people making the deal aren't going to be involved. I think you would need at least 70% to go through and vote to veto it for it to actually be vetoed. So what I would say is probably go ahead and see if we can get the rule changed where you need 7 out of those 10 others to go through and veto the deal. Joe says 12-team full BBR got offered Bijan and Devonta Smith for either Breece or ETN. Do I accept? Just worried about Bijan's volume. I would rather have Bijan easily straight over these guys. Bijan's played 5 games in his NFL career, and he has over 500 total yards. What is there to worry about? Like, look at his underdog pick'em for this week here. Like, this is the expectation with Bijan Robinson. His pick'em is 100 total yards. I think the only other player to have a projection this high is Christian McCaffrey. Like, literally the only other guy. Bijan is an elite level asset. No hesitation. Noah says trade Montgomery for Pollard and Flowers. Yes, I would. I mean, of a short term, you may get arguments to downgrade. Long term, I think it's an upgrade. Nicholas says 2-point BBR. We have Hurts, AJ Brown, Diggs, Walker, James Cook, Logan Thomas, Kirk. And then for the flex, Kirk for the flex. Bench, we have Addison, Pierce, Ramadre, Dobbs, Luke Musgrave. The best week 6 option. Just traded Tank Dell for Cook. Oh, great deal there. Yeah. So I think for week 6, if I was going to make any changes to this lineup, I would really like to get Jordan Addison in if we could. And honestly, I personally probably would go through and start Jordan Addison over Christian Kirk. I mean, you're going to have so much passing volume in Minnesota. I mean, the passing attempts are sky high with Cousins every week. And I don't know, Addison's just an efficient receiver as well. Now, Scooby says 3-2, 8-team, half BBR. We have Hurts, Kamara, Mostert, Adams, Nico, Kelsey, the flex, Lockett, Joe Mixon. And then on the bench, Jefferson, JT, Pickens, Osborne. Who should we flex and any trades? I think if we were to make a change in the starting lineup, we play Jonathan Taylor over Tyler Lockett. That's for sure going to be something we look to do in the long term. In the short term, if you wanted to go ahead, if you wanted to play Lockett, not going to fault you at all for it. And in an 8-team league, we are going to go ahead and we are going to be keeping Jefferson, knowing that the floor matters significantly less than the ceiling. Now, Phoenix says 12-team PPR. We have Herbert, Kyron, Montgomery, JT White, Ramondre, Keenan, Ayuk, Jacoby, Watson, Kelsey. Got offered Aaron Jones and Terry McLaurin for Brandon Ayuk, Ramondre Stevenson, 4-1, and feel weak at wide receiver. Got offered Aaron Jones and Terry McLaurin for Ayuk and Ramondre. Ramondre to Aaron Jones, clear upgrade. Ayuk to Terry, clear downgrade. If we can wait a week and then do that deal where we dodge the Aaron Jones buy, I think, yes, it's really close. It's up to you. Max says trade Mostert, Higgins for Mixon, and Amon-Ra. I probably would. I think Mostert to Mixon is a downgrade in the short term, but if you have Devon Achane coming back in for the long term, maybe a lateral move. Trey says, hey, Mason, I need help. I'm 1-4, 10-team full BBR. Lineup is Lamar, Barkley, Mercado, Lamb, Puka, Laporta, Ayuk. And then on the bench, we have Gibbs, Watson, Waller, Sanders. Okay, yeah, we need points right now. So honestly, what we do, and I know it sucks, full BBR format, I think that Gibbs may actually be an intriguing buy low spot with some teams on a 1-4 team where we're having to start Mercado there at RB2. We can't do it. You have to trade Gibbs and Mercado for any running back that's viable right now. Anybody that you feel comfortable starting. Now, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're still seeing the pick'ems for today on Underdog. You can see what you should have taken. I was too lazy to change the screen recording, though. I'll get you all the updated pick'ems tomorrow. And then also, you'll see that the pick'ems that it's showing on my screen right now for the specials are the Mahomes and Justin Herbert. So this Justin Herbert one's going to be available for anybody who used promo code FLOCK, whether that was 2 years ago, last year, yesterday, today, or tomorrow. That's for the Monday night game. But if you are new to Underdog Fantasy, then the new special pick'em that you're going to get will no longer be the Mahomes one. It would be the Joe Burrow special pick'em if you are new to Underdog with promo code FLOCK. But like I said, Underdog is hooking everybody up for our birthday. Promo code FLOCK. Get both the Joe Burrow one for Sunday, the Justin Herbert one for Monday, more than less than half a total yard, plus a 100% deposit match, plus our 2023 rest of season rankings and tiers. Batman Gaming says, happy BR, Pittman or Godwin rest of season. I will go Pittman. I mean, if Evans was going to miss a considerable amount of time, then maybe we could change. Steven says, got offered Eckler for Montgomery. Do I do it? Hell yes, we're going to go through. We're going to take Eckler. Ethan says, trade Waddle and Ingram for Amon-Ra and Higbee. Yes, I will go ahead. I actually think Waddle's a little bit undervalued, but I'd still rather have Amon-Ra there. Barber Shack, happy to see us, says, 10-team, double flex, full PBR. Richardson, Love, Watson. I'm assuming we have Richardson on the IR. If you're playing in a league where you're unable to put Richardson on the IR, then honestly, my friend, you're going to have to just go through and you're just going to have to drop him. Then Bijan, Walker, Hall, Saquon, running back, wide receiver, Ridley, Addison, London, JSN, Andrews. Traded Love, Saquon, London for Purdy, Ayuk, Gibbs. London to Ayuk, upgrade. Saquon to Gibbs, downgrade. Love to Purdy, slight upgrade. I understand the thought process to panic and just get out of Saquon Barkley, but honestly, probably did so at too low of a price tag. Rogers says 12-team PBR, 3 receivers double flex. Traded Keenan last week for Olave and Pierce. Probably not enough, even in a league where depth's prioritized. Traded Etienne Nico for Swift, Waddle, Gibbs. Here going from Nico to Waddle, give me Waddle. Etienne to Swift and Gibbs. Specifically in this format where depth's a little more valuable, I think you make an argument for Swift. So if this was a league where you're having a very difficult time making moves on the waiver wire and finding quality depth pieces, I understand the trades. I would have assumed that we could have gotten slightly better prices though. Keller says trade Jefferson and Montgomery for CMC and Olave. CMC and Olave, not close. Michael says McCaffrey or Bijan. We're going to go Bijan. We're going to go CMC. Actually, Bijan and Mahomes. I don't know, my friend. I think it depends on your team. Fair deal, depends on your team. I love both running backs. Ty says trade A.J. Brown for HN in a first in a dynasty league with 2 points per receiving first down. Looking to contend next year. The other team will probably win if I do it. Thinking of asking for a second as well. So if you're telling me that this is going to be the 112, I think you need more value. If it's the 112, you need to squeeze out a little bit more. If it's a different first round pick where it looks like it has a chance to be an early first, then you can do it. Sage says, hey Mason, 12 team, full BBR, 4-1. We traded Algier and Jeudy for Garrett Wilson. Great move. We have Mahomes, Hall, Swift, Puka, Kupp, Ingram, Ridley, Roshan, Mixon, DeMarcado, Thielen, Wilson, Komet. Great team. I mean, we have so much wide receiver depth here that we have like Thielen and Wilson and Mixon down there on the bench. So, I mean, I think this is a team where you could afford to see if we can go out there and possibly trade, say, the combination of Puka and Evan Ingram to get to Travis Kelce. Obviously, it'd be a little bit harder after tonight, but still, I think that's fundamentally the move that we're looking to make when we have this much wide receiver depth. You almost have an embarrassment of riches to a point where you could go out there and you could get you could get that elite quarterback and the elite tight end. We already have the elite QB. Steve says 99% 3-3 after King Butker was amazing. Goff or Stroud for quarterback 2 rest of season. Also play Ayuk, Debo, or Jacoby in the flex, half PPR. We're going to go with Ayuk in the flex. And then Goff or Stroud. I'm going to go Jared Goff, especially as we get Jameson worked up in this offense. Arthur says traded Ramondre and Zeke for Jahmyr Gibbs. Yay or nay? Up to you. Neither player is startable at all right now. Maybe Gibbs has more long-term upside. Desmond says Josh Jacobs and Drake London for George Pickens and Travis Etienne. And a 10-team PPR 1-4 where we have Rice, Allen, Swift, Olave, Jacobs, Washington, and Schultz as well. Schultz Atwell. Jacobs to ETN. Give me ETN. London to Pickens. I think we can go ahead and do this. I mean, the issue is you're not starting London or Pickens. So, yeah, let's just go ahead. Let's get ETN and Pickens. I think you can honestly maybe flip Pickens for a little more. Ethan says 10-team PPR, 3 receivers, 1 flex. We have Mahomes, Pollard, Kyron, Pacheco, Spears, Roshan, Wilson, CeeDee, Smith, Garrett Wilson, Dobbs, Palmer, Wilson. Any moves? Disappointed with the wide receivers. The wide receivers will be much better going forward, specifically with Lamb and Smith. I mean, wide receiver depth is going to be a little bit more important with this team. We don't have a ton of depth at the time being. If this was a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I think we'd be looking to sell some depth like Pacheco and maybe Garrett Wilson to get an elite level receiver in return. However, with this being a league where you do go out there and you start 3 wide receivers every week, probably going to be sitting on our hands here, to be honest with you. Probably will be sitting on your hands. Now, CDL says, thoughts on trading Moss for Aaron Jones? We have JT as well. I would easily rather have Aaron Jones. I mean, JT is going to continue to expand his role. Patrick says, I do a 2 quarterback league. I have Hurts, Cousins, Stroud as my quarterbacks. But my buddy's been talking about making a trade, and the trade would be Purdy and Hawkinson for Jalen Hurts. My tight ends are Ingram and Ferguson, 2 and 3 right now. This is Jalen Hurts not close in a 2 quarterback format. And I mean, I love TJ Hawkinson. And Brock Purdy has looked great from a real life perspective. The issue is from a fantasy football perspective, the gap that we are going to get in scoring from Jalen Hurts to Brock Purdy is just massive. You have the incredibly high ceiling and floor combo every single week with Jalen Hurts. So we are going to keep Jalen Hurts here, my friend. But real quick, we're 1 like away from hitting 300 likes on this live stream. If you have not done so already, go down there, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Help us get to 300. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. We're going to live stream every single day until 2024. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% a positive match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. Plus, if you are new to Underdog Fantasy, get a Joe Burrow special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. And since it was our birthday this week, Underdog's hooking up everybody that has used code FLOCK on Underdog, whether it was yesterday, today, tomorrow, the next day, with a Justin Herbert special pick'em more than less than half a total yard for Monday night. So please make sure you take advantage. But Dendrick says, I was offered Devontae Adams for Allen and Hollywood. My team is Hill, Walker, Ingram, Lockett, Roschon. The bench is Atwell, Ertz, Osborne, Stafford. If you feel like you're fine with Stafford going forward, I mean, it's definitely a fair price to go out there and get the elite level round 1 wide receiver in Devontae Adams. Now, at the same time, typically I'm going to be hesitant to go out there and trade an elite level quarterback away, but Stafford does look pretty damn intriguing once we have Kupp and Puka fully running. Now, Johnny says, how high on Addison and Flowers are you? Would you do a Michael Thomas and Harris trade for either of them? We're stacked at running back and receiver. If you're stacked at running back and receiver, I'd be fine trading Harris and Michael Thomas for Jordan Addison. Flowers may be a little bit tougher, but Addison, I definitely would. I think Addison's probably better than Flowers and a better passing offense. And now with less, I don't say less competition, but you don't have Jefferson. Nick says 12-team full PPR. We have Hurts, Swift, Montgomery, Brees, Hawkinson, Higgins, Flowers, Jefferson, Downs. Wide receivers lacking, but my running backs are doing well. 3 and 2. What should we do in trading, or should we stick with what we have? So 3 and 2, we're in a spot. It's not like we're dying for wins right now. I mean, running backs, we are great. Higgins going to be good in the long term, but obviously the Jefferson injury does put us in an uncomfortable position. I would say plan A is to go out there and see if we can possibly just pick up some wide receivers off the waiver wire to help us out. I think this team is strong enough, however, where we don't need to sell Justin Jefferson. And why I think if we can just pick up a few waiver wire wide receivers to get through the next 2 weeks, T. Higgins should be good to go starting in week 8. I think we can start Higgins every single week. I think if you are really, really worried, you could always go out there and trade like Brees Hall for CeeDee Lamb. But with how strong that team is, I think waiver wire would be my prioritized. I mean, plan A. Trade is plan B. Now, GoPro Dude's coming out, says 10-team, 1 flex, 4 and 1. We have Hurts, Bijan, Eckler, Charbonnet, Waller, Lamb, Addison, Smith, Amari T, Watson, Thielen, JSN. Was offered Jefferson and AJ /CD Addison. Wait, what? Okay. We're going to try reading this again. We are offered Jefferson plus AJ -CD. Were you offered Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown to trade away CeeDee Lamb and Jordan Addison? If that is the trade, that is a no-brainer move, my man. That is the perfect trade for a team that is 4 and 1, where it's a 10-team league with only 1 flex spot. I think you have to go ahead and make that move. Now, Ukes coming out saying 10-team full BBR, Christian Kirk or Nico Collins for the flex. We will go Nico Collins. Matthew says 10-team BBR 3 and 2. We have Lamar, Cook, Henry, Gibbs, Hill, Olave, Kirk, Watson, Higgins, Hockenson. Got offered Algier Pacheco for Watson and Gibbs. Watson and Pacheco, give me Pacheco. Gibbs to Algier, give me Gibbs. A fair deal, up to you. I mean, very well-balanced team. You're not really having to do anything here. I would say we probably ride out as is. And then, I mean, as we get closer to the Justin Jefferson return, if you wanted to pivot off of Hockenson for Mark Andrews to get the Lamar stack, I wouldn't mind that. Josh says, traded Dobbs and Cooks, some players you were ready to cut, for Aaron Jones. Love to see it. Now we have, and Lawrence, what? Now we have Purdy, Lawrence, Mixon, Kamara, Javonte Warren, Jaleel, Tyreek, Olave, Downs, Dell, JSN, Andrews. Any moves? Quarterbacks have the same buy. Don't be worried about quarterbacks buy. I mean, once we get there, we'll deal with it then. But I mean, great team. What I really like is when we have the elite level tight end, we're focusing in more so on running back and wide receiver depth. And yeah, I think we just continue to turn the waiver wire at running back, wide receiver, and figure it out at quarterback when the bye week comes up. Great deal for Aaron Jones there. 2 of these coming out, says PBR start 1. Stevenson, Wilson, Deonta Foreman. Ooh. We're going to go Deonta Foreman if alone, then we'll go Stevenson if not. Connor says start 3, Lamb, Moore, Addison, Downs, KJ Osborne. We're going to go Lamb, Moore, and Addison. Honestly, not that close for us either, my man. Great team. Keller says Lawrence, Bijan, Montgomery, Waddle, Nico, Kelsey, Debo, Wilson, Pickens, Osborne, Brees, Warren, Roschon. Trade Jefferson for who? We're 1 and 4. We got Debo for Mike Evans. No one wants Jefferson. Yeah, if you're 1 and 4, you may have to sell Jefferson for just almost anything you could get. I mean, if you're 1 and 4 and need points in the lineup right now, here's a tier wide receivers I'd send Jefferson for. I mean, obviously, if we can get any of the no-brainer guys, just to make sure we're on the same page, I'm assuming you already tried. If you can get Kupp, Keenan, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you do it. If not, we go down to like CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Puka, Ridley, maybe even Ayuk, Olave, Waddle. If you're 1-4 and you're telling me we need points in right now. Alexis says, hey, I traded Pig Howard for Cam Akers. Who's Pig Howard? Can y'all let me know in the live chat? Is this, am I being an idiot? Am I having a brain fart, or is this a nickname that I don't know? Please let me know, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know. I mean, I'll say with Cam Akers is a running back that's more so just a premium handcuff if Madison were to go down. Yes, I don't know who he sent. I don't know who Pig Howard is. I apologize, my friend. But say Cam Akers, he's going to have a role in a week-to-week perspective. He's going to make it we're not excited about Madison, but I don't know if you're ever going to be excited about starting Akers outside of a injury to Madison. Ashawn says 10-team PPR, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, Jefferson on the IR, and just traded Puka, Swift, Kittle for Tyreek, Jacobs, Ferguson. We also have Laporta, Amon-Ra, Flowers, CD, and JT already on the team. Puka to Tyreek, love it. Swift to Jacobs, like it. Kittle to Ferguson, a great deal. I mean, great trade. Kittle was the guy that we were looking to buy low on a few weeks back, but now that is a perfect time to sell. Connor says, should I have the Saints defense or pick up a new one? I mean, Saints this week going up against Houston, I think they're a fine play. Skank Dollar coming out says, is it time to panic on Mahomes? I don't know if you're trolling us, my man. Mahomes going to be just fine. Jacob says, should I be worried about Mahomes? Oh my gosh, what are y'all talking? No. Mahomes going to be fine. I know the passing volume isn't exactly what you wanted to see, but he's going to be Mahomes. Gage has traded Montgomery and Kirk for Jefferson, 4-1 with CMC and Eckler. I like the idea. It's just like, can we do this trade next week? You know, like, can we go to 5-1 and then make it? I understand the thought process, but I don't know. Shamil, always happy to see us, says 10-team 5-0 PBR. We have Mahomes, Jacobs, Bijan, Keenan, Puka, Hawkinson, DJ Moore, Nico Collins, Montgomery, Jamison, Pittman. Do I go for Gibbs? Who would we even give up? Okay, so 5-0, we're thinking long-term. Here are a couple different moves that we can make on a 5-0 roster. If you could sell DJ Moore, Nico Collins, Puka, any of these wide receivers, I would prefer selling Collins or DJ Moore over Puka. But if we can sell one of those guys, get Justin Jefferson on a 5-0 10-team league, make a lot of sense. In terms of making a trade for Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, if we can pick him up for extremely cheap, then sure. On a 5-0 full PBR team. Like if you could maybe, I don't know. I mean, if you want to send Nico Collins for him, go for it. I think you're in a very strong position with our team. I mean, you're 5-0. Obviously, you're crushing. Really, the only thing I'd be looking at is, can we get a reasonable price tag on Jefferson? Logan says, full BBR 10-team league. Should we trade A.J. Brown for Lamb? I'd rather have A.J. Brown. James says, I made a crazy trade in my 14-team single flex league. I now have 3 first-round picks next year. My receivers are an issue. We have Jefferson, Rice, Olave, London, Dotson, Evans, Jameson. What receiver can we get for one of the first? I'm going to operate under the assumption that this is a dynasty league, James. If it's like a keeper league where you only keep 2 players, the first-round pick is going to be worth way more, okay? But assuming it's a dynasty format and you wanted to go to a team that was looking to rebuild and give them a first-round pick, wide receivers that I'd be looking for in return, if you wanted to go out there and get to, like, say, Brandon Ayuk, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, that would make sense. If you wanted to attack one of those teams that were looking to rebuild and send a first-round pick for Cooper Kupp, if you think it's going to help you win this season, you can do it. And at the same time, if you already have accumulated 3 future firsts in Dynasty, and we have the Jefferson injury, we have young receivers to build around as is, maybe you also consider going through and selling Evans and playing for the long term yourself. Sai says, would you package Amari and someone for Mostert? If you need a running back, yeah, I mean, Mostert's going to crush. 69 Savage says, trade Allen and Madison for Pollard and Amari. I mean, Madison to Amari, probably Amari in the long term. Allen to Pollard, up to you and your team. Fair deal. David says, sit one, Pollard, Montgomery, Mostert, and Walker. I hate this question. Oh my gosh, my friend. Let's pull up our flex rankings. Pollard 13, Mostert 14, Montgomery 15, Walker 17. We have these four guys literally back to back to back to back to back. I mean, Kenneth Walker is the last guy there, but it's damn close. Cole says, how even is Jefferson and Brian Robinson for Pollard and DK? It's not the worst trade in the world. I probably would rather have Pollard and DK. Like, essentially, my rule of thumb is if I can trade Jefferson for any first-round pick equivalent player right now, like Tony Pollard, I'd probably do it. Square Papa coming out says 18 full BBR 4-1. We have Lamar, Eckler, Bijan, Kupp, Puka, Laporta, and then the flex DJ Moore. On the bench, we have Wilson, Addison, DK Smith, Hollywood, Mostert, HN on the IR. Should we trade Mostert for Lamb, and how's the team? Any moves? Team is great. I would actually do something a little bit different here. Two things. One, an 8-team league with one flex where we're 4-1, get Jefferson if we can. If you can trade DK Metcalf, get Justin Jefferson, let's do it. And I would actually prioritize getting the elite level tight end here, where if you could sell like Mostert and say Sam Laporta and go get Travis Kelce in an 8-team league with one flex, I think that'd be great. Edward says, should I trade Pittman? We have Puka, AJ Brown, Pittman, Gabe Davis, and my running backs are CMC, Jacobs, Barkley. It's a 3 wide receiver triple flex league. Okay, thank you so much for including the settings, my man. And honestly, if you're looking at a league where it's a full BBR format where you can start up to 6 wide receivers each and every week, hell no. We want to build around these wide receivers. I think you're doing a great job. I think Pittman is the perfect guy for this format in particular. So I would be looking to hold on to Michael Pittman in that format. Jake says, should we trade Saquon in London for Amon-Ra and Chuba Hubbard? If you're worried about the Giants offense, seems like a fair price to get out. James says 10-team full BBR. Current team is Jalen Hurts, CMC, JT Gibbs, Waddle, Nico, Kelsey. We had Jefferson as well. Any moves I should make? We are 3-2. We have the elite quarterback. We have running backs at the very top. We have Jefferson in for the long term. We have wide receivers who are going to produce. I don't think there are any moves that we're going to make from this starting lineup. All I would say is let's make sure that we are not rostering a backup quarterback or a backup tight end when we have Jalen Hurts and Travis Kelce. And instead, let's prioritize depth and upside at running back and wide receiver. Jeremy says 2 and 3, trade Eckler and DJ for Adams and Bijan. Eckler, Bijan, up to you. DJ for Adams, hell yes. Give me Adams. And then start Love or Dak. We're going to go Dak, my friend. Love is on bye. Jesus says, start 2, Hopkins, KJ Osborne, Wilson, Downs, and Elijah Moore. We're going to go ahead. We're going to be playing we're going to go Garrett Wilson and DeAndre Hopkins. KJ Osborne is intriguing, though. Joe says 10-team BBR, 3 receivers, 3-2. We have Allen, Eckler, Swift, Kupp, Lamb, Diggs, Goddard, Puka. Roshan, Brian Robinson, Jameson. Do we trade Swift and Lamb for Bijan and Christian Kirk, or do we stay put? I mean, typically, I would say selling CeeDee Lamb right now, if you're doing so, you are at a discount. But if we're getting up to Bijan Robinson, I think that does make a lot of sense. I've noticed a lot of people panicking on these Dallas Cowboys options. I think they're actually probably going to end up being a decent value, but I think this is a fair price point. Reed says Josh Downs versus Osborne. We're going to go Osborne this week. Yeah, and then start Lamb Addison at receiver. Emmett says 10-team PBR format. We have Stafford, Pacheco, Mixon, Kupp, Diggs, Komet, Olave. And then on the bench, Waddle, Addison, London, White, Najee, Moss, Frymuth. 16 playoff. Okay, so most teams make the playoffs. We're 4-1. We're locked in the playoffs here. If you wanted to go out there and make a move for a quarterback, we can afford it on this team. You could sell like Waddle and Stafford to see if you can go get like Lamar. If you don't want to do that, you could also look to go get an elite level tight end. You can go like Rachaad White and Komet, see if we can get, you're not going to be able to do it with Rachaad White. You'd have to probably do it with like Addison or maybe like Pacheco and Komet to like Andrews or Hawkinson. I think you can afford both when we have the running back wide receiver depth. I would also just put out a feeler for Jefferson in this situation to see if we can get him at a dirt cheap price tag. Now, Brandon says 4-1 at BBR single flex. We have Lamar, Pollard, Mostert, Dylan, Akers, Herbert, Roschon, Adams, DJ Puka, Nico, Tank, Deontay, London, Andrews. Worried about running back long-term. Owners sent JT for Puka and DJ. Any other moves you'd see? I agree. I think you should be worried about running back long-term, but ultimately, that's not necessarily something we should be worried about right now. I think we're in a great spot. What I would probably opt to do is these guys like Tank Dell at the very bottom end. I'd probably just rather roster an extra running back there. That way we could hopefully hit on the next, like Kyron Williams, right? Hit on the next Raheem Mostert. So we're good for now because we have Mostert obviously crushing. I just think we want to set ourselves up in the long term with as many running backs on that bench with upside as possible. Michael says 12-team PPR starters were Fields, Mike Evans, Waddle, Hollywood, Dobbs, Mixon, Kamara, Moss, Algier, Kelsey. Made trades. Now the team is Fields, Waddle, Lamb, Olave, Madison, Achane, Kelsey. What are your thoughts? So we went from Fields to Fields, but Evans to Waddle upgrade. I'm sorry, Evans to Lamb upgrade. Hollywood to Olave upgrade. Downgraded at running back. So essentially we upgraded at receiver to downgrade at RB. As long as you are comfortable with your ability to turn the waiver wire and be able to find options at the running back position, then I like it. I like it I think it really does come down to, do we get Devon Achane back? And if we do, when does he come back? Zane says St. Brown for Laporta and Olave. Ooh. A fair deal. Up to you. James says, shoot, I'm the one with 3 first-round picks. It's a 3-player keeper. If it is a 3-player keeper, honestly, those first-round picks are worth just a ton. And I may look to hold them. I mean, if you could sell one for like Kupp, Adams, let's do it. But whatever player we're trading for, it's not like we're guaranteed to get to keep them next year like we would in Dynasty. Juan says Kamara or Walker rest of season full PPR. I'm going to go Walker for sure, especially with Walker already through his bye. Now, Team Exposure says 10-team. We have Cousins, Henry, Swift, Debo, Jacoby, Kelsey, and London on the flex. On the bench, we have McLaurin, Aaron Jones, Thomas, Zach Moss. I'm 3-2. What do you think? Should I change a flex? I think I would start Zach Moss this week over Drake London. Long term, we will go Aaron Jones. And in terms of any trades, I don't necessarily see anything that stands out just because these guys down there at the bottom end of the team, we're not really going to get a ton of value for. I mean, if you could sell like Zach Moss and Kirk Cousins, go get to like Lamar Jackson with the Jefferson injury, I think that would make a lot of sense. But just in reality, I don't necessarily think that player down there on the bench holds too much value where we will be able, I don't think we would be able to swing a deal like that. We can try though. Okay. Cole says, should I throw Jefferson and Aaron Jones for CMC and DK? Yes, go get CMC in a heartbeat. Okay, now Mason says, any moves with Lamb, 10 TPBR 1 and 4. We have Fields, Richardson, Jacobs, Kyron, JT, Javonte, Tyreek, Lamb, Devonta Smith, and Evan Ingram. Do not panic with CeeDee Lamb. I understand he's out there tweeting crap. I understand Jerry Jones is out there talking crap. But nonetheless, I mean, if you are selling CeeDee Lamb, you're going to be selling at an extremely low point with everybody and their mom watching that 49ers game and watching the Dallas Cowboys offense implode. Wes says 10 TPBR 1 and 4. We have Stafford, Love, Bijan, Walker, Hall, Achane, Roschon, Kupp, DK Myers, Lockett, Palmer, KJ, Kelsey. What should we do? Any trades? Obviously, if we're 1 and 4, we need points now, not later. So I think the play that we're going to be looking to make is we're going to see what kind of value we can get from Devon Achane by packaging Devon Achane and Matthew Stafford for the best quarterback that we can on a 1 and 4 team. It's Raga says, should we trade A.J. Brown to get Aaron Jones, Waddle, and Justice Hill? Hill's nothing. Desperate for running backs. Saquon may come back, but scared about Aaron Jones rest of season. So we're trading A.J. Brown for Jalen Waddle and Aaron Jones. Probably not getting enough, if I'm going to be honest with you, my man. I mean, whenever you're looking at Justice Hill in a deal like that, his value is so small, it's not going to move the needle. Now, Buki says, traded Debo, Moss, Jaleel for St. Brown, Aaron Jones, and Khalil Herbert. So Debo to St. Brown upgrade, Moss to Aaron Jones upgrade, McLaurin to Khalil Herbert, who the hell cares? 4-1, 10-team PPR. A great deal, my man. If we're looking at any moves, we already have HN here giving us additional long-term upside. We have Lamar Stroud. You're not going to get too much value for Stroud right now. It looks like a double flex format where depth's going to matter a little bit more. So those guys like Michael Thomas and KJ Osborne, we're going to be holding on to through the bye weeks. Really strong team. We have the elite level tight end, Kelsey. It gives you a great game here in a full PPR format where possibly we're looking to move to 5-1, and we still have that long-term upside of HN, and we just made that deal where we are getting upgrades in multiple spots in the starting lineup. Great trade, great team. I love the way it's constructed. I don't think we make any moves. Jake says, should we trade Pickens and Jameson for Amari? I think Amari would be better long-term over Pickens as we get Deshaun Watson healthy. The question is, when does it happen? Now, 69 Savage says we have Herbert, Pierce, Madison, Keenan, Garrett Wilson, Andrews, Smith, Addison. The bench is non-existent. Kincaid and Stafford are the best. I'm 3-2. What moves should we make? Okay. So the thing is, if we have no bench, it's going to really handicap the moves that we can make, right? Because, I mean, my default here is going, oh, I don't want to start Alexander Madison. That's gross. Let's go get an upgrade at running back too. Well, the question is, how do we do that if we don't have a bench? So I think you've already done a good job setting yourselves up with some of these top-end assets. We have the elite tight end. We have wide receivers with upside with Smith, Wilson, Addison. We have the top-end stack with Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen. I hate to give you this answer, and I know it's the worst answer I could give you, but your number one priority right now should be building out that bench through the waiver wire. Then at that point, we'd have a lot more flexibility to make moves for the long term. Adele says, Etienne, Kamara, Eckler, starting 2 running backs in a flex. Do I swap anybody out for Kyron in a full PPR format? Ooh, if I was going to, I'd swap out Kamara, but it's up to you. It'd be Kamara or Kyron there. But, I mean, both players look to be in really good spots. Dalton says Ramondre or Zay in the flex. I'm going to go Zay Flowers over Ramondre. Noah says trade Amari for Nico. I think Nico's better in the short term. Amari may be better in the long term. Robert says 10-team PPR 5-0. Which 3 receivers do we start this week? With some having bad matchups. A.J. Brown, bad matchup, but we start him. Puka, Keenan Allen. You start Keenan Allen for sure. Nico, Addison, Hollywood, and Ridley. We're going to go A.J. Brown, Puka, and Keenan Allen. Despite, I understand, A.J. Brown does have a tough matchup. I know Keenan Allen has a tough matchup as well. But you're 5-0 for a reason, my man. We got some great studs at the very top. Let's just go ahead and let's just jam them in. Eli says, weird league, full PPR in 1 point per rush attempt. Would you start DeMarcado or Moss for the flex? We're going to go Moss here, my friend. You have no idea if it's going to be Keontae Ingram in Arizona. And then also start Thielen or Christian Kirk this week. We will go Adam Thielen, but that's not super easy. Daniel says, full PPR, choose one between Ford, Keontae, Chuba Hubbard, and should we use Amari? I would rather not start Amari this week if we don't have to. If Miles Sanders misses, it's easy to go Chuba Hubbard here. If Miles Sanders plays, you may still consider Hubbard, but you probably end up having to go Ford, even if it's going to be a horrendous offense in a horrendous matchup. Now, Inspired to Break coming out saying 10-team PPR double flex. 4-1, we have Lamar, Etienne, Brian Robinson, Diggs, Hopkins, Kelsey, Herbert, Moss, Davis, London, JSN, Gainwell, Spears, Mitchell, Thomas. Any moves? Double flex format, depth's going to matter a little bit more here, but we have the elite tight end. We have the elite quarterback. We are primarily focusing on running backs with wide receivers with upside down there on the bench, especially a lot of these young rookies with upside. So I love the construction of this team. I think you're in a great spot. There's a clear reason why we are 4-1. I mean, if we could go out there and send like DeAndre Hopkins and get back in return like Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, one of those guys, it's a no-brainer, but still. I don't think we have to do anything. JJ says traded White, Laporta, Puka for Kyron and Watson. Win or loss, 12-team PPR double flex, 3-2, most points in the league. So Puka to Keenan upgrade, Laporta to Watson downgrade, White to get it done. I think Keenan is the best player in this deal. If you have another viable tight end that you're excited about, I think you're fine making this trade. Michael says 10-team PPR 4-1. We have Allen, Pacheco, Damian Pierce, Ridley, Brandon Ayuk, Calvin Ridley, Jefferson, Sutton, Josh Downs, Rashee Rice, Do I need to make trades to get a better RB2? I mean, I think you can. And the thing is, you can afford it, right? I mean, it's not as easy with Justin Jefferson going down. I mean, maybe you want to wait till we get through some of these bye weeks, especially with the Jefferson injury. But I mean, if you can find a reasonable price to possibly go through and send, like, say, Brandon Ayuk and Isaiah Pacheco, or Brandon Ayuk and Dameon Pierce, and somehow get up to a running back like Tony Pollard, it'd be an absolute no-brainer in a 10-team league where we're 4-1. We have the depth at wide receiver. Will be a little bit tougher when we have the Jefferson injury. Sean says Flowers or Kirk. We're probably going to go Flowers, then Wilson or Pierce. I mean, I can just tell you exactly where we have these guys in our flex rankings this week. For the love of God, hopefully I ranked Pierce. We have Wilson at 39. Did I forget Dameon Pierce? Oh, Mason, you idiot. Okay, we have Pierce at 50. Okay, just making sure. Yeah, Pierce tough matchup against New Orleans. Very inefficient as well. You look at his underdog pick. It is extremely low. We're going to go Garrett Wilson. Okay, now Reed says 0-5 single flex. Ford, Gibbs, Sanders, Javonte, Lamb, Addison, Osborne, Pickens, Deontay. Going to try to trade for Kamara. Gibbs, Sanders, unlikely. Running back waivers are Hubbard, DeMarcado, Gus, Spears. If we can pick up Chuba Hubbard, we probably go ahead and do it, my friend. And the thing is, ultimately, if you were 0-5, this long-term upside could not matter less. Like, let's go through and let's take Jahmyr Gibbs, send him with Miles Sanders, and get any running back that's going to give us something over the next few weeks. Because if these guys aren't startable over the next few weeks and we fall to 1-6, 2-7, then who cares if they crush in the second half of the season? Because it just simply won't matter for us. Yasha says, I traded Pickens and White for Waddle. Was that a good move? Depend on your team. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. I'm fine with it. Omega Les Paul, who's happy to see us, says, my boy, appreciate the content. Nothing more to say besides thoughts on Miami's running back future. Is it a running back by committee? Also, a happy belated birthday. Thank you so much, my man. I do think it will be a running back by committee. It's very difficult to project out. I would say in the short to immediate term, I'm projecting Raheem Mostert to be an absolute must-start running back that's going to go out there and freaking crush. But then obviously as we get Achane back in and maybe Jeff Wilson Jr. shows something, maybe you are in that 3-man running back by committee. Isaiah says 10-team at BBR where we have Fields, Bijan, Jacobs, Moore, Chase, Ferguson, Brees, Akers, Hunt, Williams, Rice, Waller, St. Brown, JSN. Currently 2-3, any moves. Great team. I would say please make sure we go ahead and start Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'd play him over DJ Moore. And when we're this loaded up wide receiver, I think you can afford to go out there and trade for an elite level tight ends. Like if you could send, say, like DJ Moore and Darren Waller, DJ Moore and Jake Ferguson, and go get Travis Kelce, a TJ Hawkinson, I think I'd possibly look to do it because it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format where we have like Amon-Ra St. Brown on the bench, you know? So you do have that embarrassment of riches where we can afford that wide receiver upgrade. And I would say start St. Brown over DJ Moore. And then regarding Waller versus Ferguson, I may even start Waller. Nathaniel says Burrow or Lawrence, we're going to go Burrow. Laporta or Waller, we're going to go Laporta. And then Zay or Kirk. Zay Jones, we're going to go Kirk. Zay Flowers, we're going to go Flowers. No, we'll go Kirk. We'll go Kirk over Flowers. I do want Flowers over Kirk for the long term, but this week we'll go with Kirk. Steven, always happy to see us, says we have Fields, Stevenson, Warren, Gus, Jaleel, Chase, Amon-Ra, DJ Moore, London. 2-game win streak, 2-3. Hold upgrade for a running back. I mean, obviously it'd be nice to upgrade at a running back position. I mean, here when we have Jaylen Warren in the starting lineup. I mean, if you could sell DJ Moore and Jaylen Warren and go get a running back like Travis Etienne, go get DeAndre Swift, it would make a lot of sense for this team. If this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, my friend. Concealed OG, long time, remember the flag, says, love your content research, helps out a lot. Should we take the trade? We're sending Waddle, Wilson, Palmer for Adams, Goddard, Dell. Palmer to Dell, who cares? Wilson to Goddard, give me Wilson. Waddle to Adams, give me Adams. Adams the best player in the deal. I'll probably go Adams, especially if you feel like you need a tight end where we have this wide receiver depth currently. Mark says 12-team BBR double flex. We have Tua, Etienne, Jacobs, Cup, Chase, Kelce, Hall, Addison. And then on the bench, Amari Watson, Roshan, JSN, Jeff Wilson, HN. Made good trades, 4-1. Any thoughts and any moves? We have a lot of depth on this team, but a lot of it is long-term depth, right? Amari, long-term option. I mean, you can't play him with no Watson. Christian Watson, I mean, I guess kind of getting good back at the bye. I don't want to call him a long-term option. JSN, long-term option. Devon Achane, long-term option. Jordan Addison, long-term option. He's a rookie. I mean, Breece Hall is going to continue to get better. So this is a team where we have a capable starting lineup and we have depth right now, but I don't necessarily want to be making any trades until these guys continue to marinate and could just continue to rise in value. I think you have a very constant stable of production here, and you have guys that are going to continue to increase in value as the season goes on. Brock says 10-team at BBR 3-2. Mahomes, Eckler, Pollard, Devontae, Waddle, Kelsey, Ayuk, Amari Watson, Spears, Jeff Wilson Jr., Goff. Any moves, running back depth feels bad. If you don't like your running back depth, I think if you have Mahomes, there's no reason to have Goff. If you want to send Goff and a depth running back like Spears to go get an upgrade at the running back position from like an Anthony Richardson team, and then you could also backfill with another running back off the waiver wire, I think that'd make a lot of sense. I mean, the value that you get when you take Mahomes and Kelsey is you can roster a ton of backup running backs on the bench. Big Verg says, start who? Stroud or Lawrence? I'm going to go Lawrence. And then Stevenson or Rachaad White? I'll go Rachaad White, my friend. Diego says 12-team 2-3. Trade St. Brown and Moss for DK and Kyron. Ooh, interesting trade. Moss to Kyron, massive upgrade. St. Brown to DK, downgrade. Other options are Hollywood, Rachaad White. We have Hopkins, McLaurin, Jeudy, Edwards, Hunt, Najee, Hall. We need some help. If we were going to make the deal, it's the first one. It would be for DK Kyron. And I do think it's a very fair deal, and it's up to you. I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown in a full PPR format is probably the best player. So I personally probably look to hold on to Amon-Ra St. Brown in the majority of instances. But if you're telling me our best running backs are Hunt, Najee, Breece Hall, where we don't have an RB2, you probably do have to go out there and make that move. Sean says, Agent injured or Gibbs rest of season? Can everybody spam the chat? Who would you rather have, Devon Achane or Jahmyr Gibbs rest of season? And then what's Barkley's trade value? Right now, Barkley's going as a high-end RB2. Obviously, you have the talent, but at the same time, I mean, you just have the worst situation imaginable. And the Giants have been playing on prime time, so everybody knows it's the worst situation possible. But everybody spam the chat. Would you rather have Achane or Gibbs rest of season? And then also, we are one like away from hitting 500 likes on this live stream. Looks like only about 7% of y'all have hit that like button. So fix that. Go down there, drop a like on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. It's day 167 of live streaming every single day. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK will get you a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to Underdog, you'll get a Joe Burrow special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for Sunday night. And we got everybody hooked up since it was our birthday this week. Underdog gave us that big present. Justin Herbert, more than less than half a total yard for anybody who's used promo code FLOCK on Underdog. Whether that was 2 years ago, today, tomorrow, make sure you take advantage. Sean says, wait, you said Flowers, Kirk, or Flowers? I'm going to go Flowers long-term. I'm going to go Kirk this week. I want to tell you Flowers this week. I could kind of go back and forth. I think Flowers is the more exciting player. I think the smarter play just with the constant volume would be Kirk, though. Jesse says 12-team at BBR, double flex. 2 and 3, we have Russ, Pacheco, Mixon, Diggs, St. Brown, Knox, Puka, Waddle. And then on the bench, Pierce, Deontay, Quentin Johnson, Reynolds, McKinnon, Foreman, Schultz, Mims. Any moves? The bench just seems tough, my man. I mean, double flex format, the depth matters a little bit more. I'd love to go get an upgrade over Russell Wilson. I just don't know if we can afford it right now. I don't do anything this week, but if we get one of these rookies breaking out like Quentin Johnston, then we have Deontay coming out of the bye, and it looks like we have considerably more depth overall. Say, maybe you have, I don't know, Jerry Jeudy getting traded. I would love to go out there and trade for a quarterback, but what you're probably going to do at this point is you probably just got to drop Russell Wilson and then go through and just stream the quarterback position. Now, Son coming out says 10 TPBR 3 and 2. We have Hurts, Walker, Brian Robinson, Chase, Olave, Andrews, Lockett. the flex. And then on the bench, we have Tua, Hopkins, Stevenson. Any suggestions? If you have Hurts and Tua, you have a ton of value here. Let's go take Tua and Brian Robinson. Let's go to the Anthony Richardson team. Let's go to the Deshaun Watson team and go, hey, man, I'll give you Tua and Brian Robinson. Give me the best running back you can. Isaiah says, so St. Brown over DJ Moore, even if DJ Moore matchups looks better than St. Brown. Am I missing something? I mean, I would 100% go ahead and do that. I mean, just give you a baseline expectation on where the projections have these guys this week. I mean, you have DJ Moore at 55.5 receiving yards on Underdog. Now, I like more than 55.5 receiving yards, don't get me wrong. But based off, I mean, what we know about this, St. Brown will come in closer to about 70 total yards. DJ Moore is the number one wide receiver in the NFL right now in fantasy points over expectation. I think you assume that DJ Moore does take a step backwards compared to where he was with this kind of volume. I'm Gucci Polo, always out here, says 10 TBBR. We have Allen, Eckler, Etienne, JT, Pacheco, loaded. Diggs, Pittman, Addison, Godwin, Watson, Deontay, Pacheco, and Pittman for CD. Thanks, Mason. Appreciate you, my man. I would definitely try instead to go get, like, say, someone in the Devontae Adams range. If you can't get Adams, I would do CD Lamb when your team is this loaded. I just wanted to admit it on a live stream, my man. But yes, I would do this deal when your team is this loaded and you are in a phenomenal spot. Great team. Ton of depth. I would do it. But I don't know if that's something we would say out loud for everybody. Okay. Now, JJ says, do you ever try looking at a defense and inputting it into your strategy? Example, if Sauce Gardner's out, you'd prioritize that wide receiver in the matchup. So a big thing is whenever I'm going through and whenever I'm projecting that out, looking at defensive secondaries, the whole 9 yards, there are ways to go about this. You can either go about it with your own individual defensive statements, and you can try to do everything. You can try to figure out the projections on what the volume trends are for that player, what kind of volume he will see, what kind of role he'll play in his offense, and what the overall game environment will look like at the same time. Or instead, you could go through and you could say, okay, well, let's look at what Las Vegas sportsbooks are telling us. What's the implied team total? Las Vegas sportsbooks are clearly going through and having better defensive matchup breakdowns than I possibly could. Of course, it's something we keep in the back of our minds. It's not something that we go through and stress the importance of, because if we were to map the importance and just try to list them out, what is significantly more important is just going out there and figuring out the game environment and the volume that individual player would see. Sawyer says, Gabe Davis, Logan Thomas for Flowers. I think that's a good price to get Flowers. I think Logan Thomas is exciting, but at the same time, he's still a little bit more of a waiver wire type tight end, right? But I think that should be it for this live stream for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog, like I said, you can find that link in the comment section, in the description, in the live chat. My favorite pick'em this week on Underdog will be DJ Moore for more than 55.5 total yards. Promo code FLOCK, 100% a positive match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, plus a Joe Burrow special pick'em more than less than half a total yard, and a Justin Herbert special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. Underdog got y'all hooked up for our birthday. We have a few more questions just real quick. Jacob says trade Waddle, Kyron for Jacobs and Amari. Waddle to Amari, give me Waddle. Kyron to Jacobs, give me Jacobs. I'm going to move JT Sanders, Kyron. Fair deal. I think it's up to you. Isaiah says, with that said, DJ Moore or Breece Hall in the flex. I don't like the Philly defense. Don't like the Philly defense either, my friend. I probably go Breece Hall, though. Jacob says, 10 TPBR double flex. We have Burrow, Watson, Saquon, Etienne, Mixon, Gibbs, Diggs, AJ, Jefferson, Lockett, Deontay, Kelsey, any trades. I mean, now that we have Burrow coming on, I actually don't think there's anything in a double flex format that we're going to look to do. I mean, we have the long-term upside of Saquon, the long-term upside of Gibbs, the long-term upside of Jefferson. So we have seen a lot of these injuries. We just have to just make sure that we can make it through. And then in the long term, obviously it'll be in a good spot. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great night, and really hope we get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow night.